Okay, now we're going to look at quotient rule. Of course, quotient rule would be applied when you have a function divided by a function. Okay, so that's what you're seeing here. Take the derivative of a function divided by a function. Okay, so what you're going to need to do here is actually start out with the function that's in your denominator. Write it down just like it is. Multiply that times the derivative of the top function minus, and now just reverse what you just did. So this time you'll write down the top function just like it is and multiply it times the bottom function. Then all of this is divided by the function that you have in your denominator squared. This is just saying that this rule applies as long as g of x is not 0, because you just can't divide by 0. Now, a little saying that I was actually taught, and really what I think every single time that I have to do quotient rule. So in this little saying where I have the word high and low, that would refer to numerator and denominator. And then you see like I have a d in front of here, a d in front of here, so that would be like the derivative, okay? So kind of following this along with this. So see here you start out with the function from the bottom. So you start out with low. Now d high would mean derivative of the top one, derivative of high, minus high, so that's the function that's on the top, d low, so that's the derivative of the one on the bottom, over, so that means you're making your fraction. Of course, low, remember if you do something twice, that means that it's squared. So low d high minus high d low over low. And like I said, that's just, I've always taught it using this, and it does seem to be something that the you as students seem to catch on to, and helps you remember. The deal here is this is subtraction, so you have to make sure that you do this in exactly the order that it's supposed to be done in. Okay, so here's the first example that we're going to look at. So the numerator, remember, would be your f of x. Your denominator would be your g of x. Okay, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to use y prime. All right, so low d high. So that means derivative of the top. So the derivative of 2x plus 3 would just be 2. Minus, okay, so this is low d high. So now you're going to go with high d low. Now when I take the derivative of the bottom using my power rule on my 4x squared would give me 8x. And of course the derivative of that would just be 0. And that's all over low. So you take the 4x squared minus 5 and square it. Okay, so you're done with product rule. So the rest of what we've got to do here is actually simplifying. So when you'll notice when you're doing product rule and quotient rule, it's only the first step that's actually calculus, and that's using that rule, and then everything that you have to do after that, the next 3 steps, 4 steps, 6 steps, is actually using algebra in order just to get it simplified. Okay, I'm going to distribute my 2 right here. Okay. Now, you also need to distribute the 8x and the minus sign, so you can just take care of both things at once here and distribute that as if it were a negative 8. So that's going to give us a negative 16x squared minus 24x. Okay, then combining like terms, 8x squared minus 16 would be a negative 8x squared minus the 24x minus the 10. You do have a common factor in your numerator, and actually you could take it out or not, because even if you took out your common factor on the top, you're still not going to cancel anything on the bottom. But you could say take out a negative 2. I mean, I'm just mentioning this, just, you know, you got to be aware of these things, like when you're checking your answer in the back of the book, just to make sure that things are equivalent to each other. Sometimes they'll do this. So like this would be your derivative. Okay, next. Okay, so this would be your f of x. That's going to be your top function. And this is your g of x, your bottom function. Okay, so remember it starts out low D, high. Okay, so when I take the derivative of the top, power rule, of course the derivative of this is going to be 0. So this would be 3x squared plus 3 minus, so this is low D, high, so now you need high D low. So when you take the derivative of the bottom, you're just going to end up with 2x all over low, low. Okay, multiplying out here is going to require the FOIL method, so let's FOIL these two out. Okay, this is just going to be distributive property with your 2x, but also with your minus sign, so treat this as a negative 2x. So that's going to give us a negative 2x to the fourth minus 6x squared minus 4x. And now let's combine like terms. So 3x squared, or I'm sorry, 3x to the fourth minus 2x to the fourth, of course, is 1x to the fourth. I don't have any third powers. Second powers, of course, these two would add each other out, but you still would have the minus 6x squared. And first powers would be the minus 4x, and the constant would be the minus 3. So this would actually be your answer on this one. You don't have a common factor that you could factor out on the top for this one. Okay, next. Doing the same thing with quotient rule, but it's having us to do one other little step, which is something we've actually already done before. So it wants you to find the derivative of the function, and then it wants you to actually evaluate the derivative for whatever value of c that they give you. So like in this case, we're going to actually plug the pi over 6 into the derivative, because them having the tick mark here means you're evaluating this at the derivative, not using the original function when you evaluate. So first of all, we've got to get our derivative. Okay, so this is the f of x, this is the g of x. Okay, so low D high minus high D low. Now the derivative of the bottom is just going to be a 1. And that's all over low, low. So really not much simplifying that you could do here. We could just write it, actually where we wouldn't even have to have any parentheses. This would just be x cosine x minus sine x divided by x squared. So now you're asked to find f prime of c, where c is pi over 6. So f prime of pi over 6. So we need to substitute this into this derivative everywhere that we have an x. Okay, now simplifying this. First of all, pi over 6 is the same thing as 30 degrees, so cosine of 30 degrees is square root 3 over 2. And then sine of 30 degrees would be 1/2. And like if you wanted here, you could go ahead and just make this pi squared over 36. Just square the top and square the bottom. Okay, next I do need to multiply these two together, so that will give me pi square root 3 over 12 minus 1/2 divided by pi squared over 36. Now you do have a complex fraction here, which we could clear that out by multiplying everything by the common denominator. So for 12, 2, and 36, that means you need to multiply everything by 36. That would be your common denominator. Okay, so the 12 will cancel going to 36 3 times. So 3 times pi square root 3. 2 will cancel going to 36 12 times, so 1 times 12 is just 12. On the bottom, 36 is cancel, so that would leave you with pi over 2. So this would be like your exact answer. That would be about all you could do with that.